On the 12th of May 2019, a picture that is now infamous within internet lore was posted to 4chan. The image showed a monotonous and eerie room, the wallpaper and carpet both lined with an uncomfortable yellow. The caption accompanying it read as follows: "If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the back rooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you." This was instantly soaked in by users of the site, and it quickly became a widespread image. Games were created based around it, and stories were written inspiring madness and isolation. But it wasn't until the start of 2022 that the concept of the back rooms would be turned completely on its head. Hello there people of the internet, my name is Baz, and if you're new to my channel then consider subscribing and liking the video. Usually I'll do reaction content to both, I guess, horror stuff and some stupid stuff, and I'd play games, but I decided I feel like being a bit more creative today. So today I'm going to be piecing together the Backrooms timeline of Kane Pixel's Backrooms series. Now, I do want to state that I have a script in front of me right here, just to keep me on track of the things I'm talking about. So if you feel like I'm reading something off screen, it's probably because I am, but I'm going to try and keep it seamless as possible. Also, please know that these are my theories and these aren't necessarily true. The timeline isn't even completed yet, and a lot of things are subject to change, so bear that in mind as we go along. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first video of the timeline is called Backrooms Prototype. In this video we see an experiment which tries to tear a hole into space-time itself. Now I'm unsure whether or not the guns created a small wormhole for this ball to disappear, or if they just shot this thing and it sent it somewhere else. But I think it's something more to do with like ripping a hole into space-time. The experiment itself was successful, so the prototype was successful, and so they began working on a full machine that could actually create a full-sized wormhole, but it wouldn't be available until 6 years later. So in Backrooms, the third test, this is in 1988, Async Research Facility tested its low proximity magnetic distortion system. Judging from the title, it's not the first time they tried this. In order to understand what this system is, we need to get a little bit scientific, and keep in mind that this was done by a 16-year-old at the time, who's 17 now I believe, but it's absolutely phenomenal for a young man to have a mind as big as this and as creative as this, so definitely props to Kane Pixels. So essentially what the Async are trying to achieve is creating a wormhole that connects from Earth to the back rooms. In order to do this, they need electromagnetic energy, and they need enough of it so that it creates a huge mass big enough to actually fold space-time on top of itself, creating a wormhole from point to point, which basically just seems seamless, like walking through a door, almost like Monsters Inc. Async were aware of the existence of the Backrooms from the looks of things. I'm not sure if it was confirmed if they knew about it beforehand, but they seem to be definitely trying to access this other part, this other dimension kind of. And of course, humans being humans, they immediately thought of ways they could profit from this, from storage space to even people living down in this place. So this comes to the first contact video, which was a year later in 1989. We see the experiments were successful, and they did manage to create a wormhole from this place to the back rooms, but it did come with some side effects. So in the description of First Contact, there is a link to another video named Collateral. The video shows a real-life news broadcast of the 1989 San Francisco earthquake, where there was a 6.9 magnitude quake that lasted for 15 seconds. It seems that the power that was used for this experiment was so big that it actually shook the earth, causing this earthquake and a lot of power outages. But obviously this didn't matter to them because they've literally just made contact with the back room, so it's little of their concern. This leads us on to the Backrooms Missing Persons video. This was based in February of 1990, roughly 4 months after the earthquake event. There are multiple reports of people going missing. This ranged from adults to children as young as 2. I believe that the experiment that was carried out by Async not only caused an earthquake and a load of power outages, but it actually permanently messed with space-time itself. Towards the end of the video, we see that these researchers are exploring the back rooms and they find this body. It's a body of a young man, which we will explore a bit later. 2 days after this video is when we see the autopsy report of a victim of the entity in the first video Kane uploaded on the back rooms. The mortician goes on to explain that certain parts of the body stopped decaying and were sustained, whilst the rest were taken by culture. An interesting side note is that the mortician also says the victim died of malnutrition. Could it be possible that the entity that grabbed this victim made them digest this mold it was made out of? If this is the case, this means that this victim could be under the process of literally turning into one of these entities without these researchers or scientists even knowing about it. The next video in the timeline is called Informational Video. One of the most interesting facts about this video is that it was recorded on February 29th of 1990. 1990 was not a leap year at all, so there should never have been a 29th of February. But maybe the Backrooms, the opening of the Backrooms, actually messed with time itself upon Earth. The video is an employee training tape informing them on rules to follow when entering into the back rooms. We see a group of people appear to be mapping out the back rooms using this kind of tape to show where they came from, like Theseus and the Minotaur. During this walk, the cameraman gets distracted. He hears a load of what sounds like a cafe full of people off to his right, and he goes to explore what it was. By the time he gets over there and calls out to the people to say, guys, are you hearing this? You literally see his team vanish in front of him. Completely gone. The lights go out and they vanish. Confused, the man starts wandering around and starts to find out of place scenery like jungle wallpaper and a Tudor house backdrop. Skipping towards the end of the video, the cameraman finds a door and enters the room. This triggers an alarm, and we'll come back to this later on as it's very important to the timeline. For now, we will talk about the next video in the timeline, Motion Detected. At the start of this video, we can see the room that the cameraman in the last video stumbled into is just being built. This means that there's been some kind of time travel occur, which could also mean that certain parts of the back rooms warp time. The video shows cameras being set up outside of the threshold, which captures any motion or substantial noise. Towards the end of the video, we see what looks like the entity in the first found footage video appear from around this corner. There's an interesting theory about this which I'll discuss a little bit later on. 2 months after this video, so now it's the 6th of May 1990, is where we see pitfalls being recorded. In this video, the researchers come across multiple holes in the floor with a single door on the other side. We don't get to see what's on the other side because the cameraman falls into one of these holes. I'm not sure how. I mean, the walkway looks like it's big enough to not fall down, but then again, he's wearing a hazmat suit. He's got a lot of gear on. Maybe his vision's obstructed. So as he's down there, he calls up to his team, and the team are like, okay, we can't get to you. We're going to have to get back to the threshold, and we're going to have to get some kind of pulley system to get you out there. So just stay put. The guy says, I'm not going to stay put. I'm going to go wander around. So he goes to the end of this hallway, and he goes through this little gap, and you can see something that should just be impossible. It's a neighborhood shrouded in red lamps all around, and at the end is like a tunnel. So there's houses either side, there's a tunnel, and there's a starry sky above, and it just makes no logical sense whatsoever. In the distance somewhere, you can hear someone shouting for help. The cameraman decides to go and investigate and walks into the house where he thinks that this sound's coming from. He's greeted by these inverted signs, road signs. So he walks past these road signs and is greeted by a radio, a backpack, and a bed. Now bear in mind that what's on the radio is actually a report, I believe, a news report about tensions between the US and Cuba, which weren't around until 2015, and also the backpack itself was not made in the year 1990, which means there's people from the future coming to this point as well, so time definitely does not work the same way. So he walks past this room where he hears this person asking for help. In the distance, you can't really see what it is until this thing comes out of the light, and it turns out to be this entity. The man freaking runs for his life, and in his words, that's not a fucking person, just absolutely belts it, and luckily his team are there ready to pull him up. What we learn from this video is that not just people can no-clip into the backrooms and objects, but whole areas can actually no-clip into the back rooms. On the same day that this happened, the video report was released. Here we see the realization that the researchers, scientists, workers of Async notice that they're dealing with something a lot bigger than they originally thought. But this does not matter to them. They decide to just seal up the wall, reinforce it with metal, and just never speak about it again, because there is profit to be made here, as we see in the next video. So in Async's eyes, it doesn't matter that there's an angry, unknown entity roaming around and trying to kill people. In the video presentation, based in May of 1990, there is a video discussing the possibilities of the back rooms. These range from storage space to shopping centers and even livable housing. It seems Async are trying to find financial backers to help make their dream come true. Towards the end of the video, a meeting filmed on CCTV seems to be interrupted by an alarm going off. This is where the man from the informational video comes back. It appears that the man from the informational video, whose team vanished in front of him, traveled over 2 months into the future, and it was literally a blink of an eye for him. What's also fascinating about this video is that in the description is a link to an unlisted segment of a Simpsons episode that aired in 1991. As you watch on, you realize that the episode is interrupted by a Spanish medicine advert, and this Spanish medicine advert didn't air until the year 2000, but obviously the people that were watching at the time wouldn't have known that at all. Whatever's happening with the back rooms, it's interfering with literally time and space in the real world with the TV signals. Also, the Spanish medicine advert was a medicine to help a dry cough, I believe, or just a cough. So maybe that kind of hints at, you know, what spreads this mold disease. 10 months after this video presentation, we get a video titled ma11_90_archive.tar that was originally linked to the first ever found footage video that Kane actually uploaded. In this video, we see multiple images of people working behind the scenes in the back rooms on computers, and also strange liminal photos that make you feel uneasy. This is where we are also introduced to null zones. I'm still unsure what null zones are. Some people say that it's where reality meets the back rooms, and you know, that's where people no-clip through. Others say it's a formula that plays with time depending on the elevation that you're on. I'll leave it for people who are a lot smarter than me to figure that out. So the next video doesn't actually have a date, but I thought it belonged here because it kind of, I guess it makes sense to put it here for now because of the video that comes afterwards. But it's a video that is this number here. This number is actually a barcode IBAN, I think it's called. And it translates to a book, and the book is called The Yellow Wallpaper. I know that thanks to this comment by 3Beta. It is a book about a woman's mental health deteriorating while on a rest cure with her family. She's obsessed with the yellow wallpaper in her room, which resembles a lot of the tone of yellow in the back rooms, which points to her fall in psychosis and depression throughout the book. The video itself shows a car no-clipping through the road, which is a terrifying thought. No one is safe from the instability that the opening of the back rooms has caused. So the next video in the current timeline takes place 4 years after the previous in 1995. I'm sure Kane will release more videos to fill up the timeline, but for now, this is all we have. So this is the second found footage video that we've seen. Obviously, it doesn't come in chronological order, but this is technically the one that came first. In this video, we see a woman showing off this anomaly, a bit of tape, and anything she puts in the middle of this tape, it completely disappears. We know it to be going into the back rooms. A lot of people say that the actual tape itself is a reference to The Caretaker, which is an album, I think it's Everywhere at the End of Time, which is an album about your mind deteriorating because of dementia, I believe. It's pretty sad, but also very unique. So I'm not sure if there's a coincidence to that, but it's pretty cool. A lot happens in this video, but let me just quickly give you the footnotes. In the corner of one room, there is a kitchen counter. In the next, there are these chairs which appear to come straight from a fever dream. They look like they were literally built for the entity because it's very tall, but like the seats it's like that. And as you can see from the entities, that they don't have much of a bum, so I guess they can sit down comfortably on a chair like that. There's also a couch. a weird hole in the floor, and a locked door with eerie music coming from the other side. We eventually see a car ahead that has crashed into the far side of one of the walls. The car is heavily damaged and appears to be covered in the same mold we saw in the autopsy video. The camera woman then enters a darkened hallway, and we see in one room there's a bed, and in the other room is a painting that is covered in this mold-like substance. Before she can react, a mold entity springs to life from the mold-covered room, causing the woman to flee. She is forced down into this hole we saw earlier, and we can see what looks like a small pool room. We know from the Ma 11 video previously that a flood did happen in the back rooms, and this could also explain the mold. Eventually, the camera woman squeezes into a room that has no exit. The walls and floor begin to crack in a similar pattern to the mold that we saw before the entity came to life. The fact that this is found footage suggests that the camera was eventually found, so whether or not she was teleported to somewhere safe or she dropped the camera and was found by an async employee is yet to be discovered. In the description of this video is another link to an unlisted video titled home_27647.mov. The video shows a montage of different areas in a city with strange images in between. At the end of the video, we can see a picture of a group of people around a piano as the camera zooms in. We notice the painting we saw in the mold room is in this photo. There is a theory that the person who was driving the car that no-clipped had this painting in the car. They then decided to hang it up as they tried recovering from the crash. And this brings us to the final video, which was actually the first video in the series. So this happened 1 month after the second found footage video, which was actually the first. The video starts with a student project. That's what it seems like. They're filming some kind of student project. The director says, okay, we just need to get one more shot. You just back up, we'll get a wide shot and we're done. As he's backing up, he completely falls into the floor and wakes up in the back rooms. So the first 3 minutes of this video is just this person completely confused, wandering around and exploring what's going on and trying to make sense of what's happening. And if you watch my reaction content, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of sound design and just the visuals that go into this. I believe that it's so hard to capture sound design of, you know, the person walking with an old camera and making it feel seamless to like where you can't tell what's real and what's fake. And that is just amazing to do. Eventually, we come to a wall with a bunch of drawings and writing on it. Most notable are the words, "Don't move, stay still." As he is reading this, we hear the horrific first sounds of the entity storming towards the camera. He manages to escape, and this is when we're introduced to different liminal spaces. This includes a staircase, the apartment complex indoors, and what feels like an endless amount of holes in the walls with huge exit signs above them. It's easy to look back on this and think that Kane was just showing off some of the famous liminal spaces that you see on the internet, but in 3D space, and it could well be the case. I don't think Kane realized how big this series was going to be, but I think the way the story's going, what we could be seeing is more null zones, like more things dropping into the back rooms, or it could even be async working on the projects that we saw in the presentation video with both storage, livable space. This could be part of that system. So towards the end of the video, the cameraman nearly escapes, but is grabbed by the entity at the end, and the camera is left falling. It actually no-clips back through into reality and lands in some kind of farm area. If you haven't guessed already, this is the same person that we saw in the autopsy report that was back in 1990. So time is completely messed up right now, because this guy in 1990 is supposedly dead, but he's also alive at the same time, and it happened in 1995. So it is completely mind-boggling what's happening here, and I think it just shows the instability that opening the back rooms has actually caused to time-space in itself. So that's the scripted part done now, guys. Now I'm just gonna riff off a few ideas and theories that I had myself, that me and a friend came up with, and something I've seen floating around the internet. So firstly, I want to talk about the mold. Now, there's multiple theories with the mold itself, you know, where it came from. A theory of mine itself is that you see in the Ma 11 video that the backrooms were flooded, and that can cause a lot of mold problems. I think that when this car crashed into this wall, it kind of released this mold, and that's why you can see it like almost taking over this car. So maybe the mold lives within the wallpaper itself. Another theory about the mold that my friend had was that this could be a prehistoric kind of fungus disease, like a mold disease, which was harmless to the things that were living around at the time, like dinosaurs, for example, but to us humans, it's extremely lethal. And we know that the Backrooms doesn't play favorites when it comes to time zones, so who knows? Literally, there could be stuff in the Backrooms that predates humanity completely, and maybe this mold was a kind of disease that came with that. Another theory I saw, which is a bit outlandish, is that the entity is like a camera, like one of the motion cameras that was set up during the motion detected video. The evidence is backed up that it looks like stick thin, and it's got a thing at the top of its head that looks like it's a camera mounted on top of a tripod. And the writing on the wall in the first found footage video, "Don't move, stay still." Could this be that the entity actually shares some properties with the motion capture camera that was set up? For example, if you stay completely still, it can't see you, and if you stay completely quiet, it can't hear you. So that was a theory that I saw floating around the Backrooms videos in the comment section, and it's a lot of people have some very interesting theories indeed. This whole, when you introduce time travel into something like this, it gets really mindfuckery, basically. So I hope Kane can actually manage to dodge any of the paradoxes, or just, you know, make nothing too confusing. But the way that time works in the Backrooms is very, very interesting, and I'll be very, very interested to see where it goes and how the story progresses. Maybe this mold could be some kind of extinction level event. If it gets out into the world, that's it. There's going to be entities running out. That would be pretty cool to have happen, maybe. But there we go, guys. That is all I've got for this video. It's the first time doing one of these videos, so I guess the layout feels a little bit off right now, but maybe if I do more like this in the future, I will definitely polish the feel of these videos. But if you guys did enjoy this video and you'd like to see more of this is just a one-off, but if enough of you guys like it, then, you know, maybe I'll find other stuff to make videos on. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. Be sure to like, subscribe, go subscribe to Kane Pixels, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Take care.